These are two of the best and most affordable mid-range consoles you can get for around $100, Mangmi Air X and Ayaneo Pocket Air Mini. Right now, they're actively competing with each other, and I'm sure this video will either help you make a decision or completely confuse you. First of all, both of these consoles are pretty powerful for their price and can even run games at the level of GameCube and PlayStation 2. They both have active cooling, run on Android, and feel well built. They have a lot in common, but also a lot of differences, for example, different screen sizes. Let's go step by step. First, we'll compare the specs, then move on to the physical design and controls, and finish with performance tests. At the end, I'll share my conclusions and give you some advice on what to pay attention to when choosing between them. By the way, I've already made full dedicated reviews of both consoles on my channel, so make sure to check those out. Links are in the description box. The Air Mini runs on an octa-core MediaTek Helio G90T processor, while the Mangmi Air X uses a Snapdragon 662. Both are fairly old chips that were originally used in budget smartphones. The Air X runs Android 14, while the Air Mini is on Android 11. For some of you, that might be a significant factor, so keep that in mind. My Air Mini version has 3 GB of RAM and 64 GB of internal storage. The Air X comes with 4 GB of RAM and the same 64 GB of internal storage. Both consoles also support microSD cards for storage expansion. The main external difference is the display. The Air Mini has a 4.2-inch screen with a 4:3 aspect ratio. The Air X features a 5.5-inch IPS display with a 16:9 aspect ratio. This detail is actually one of the key deciding factors, but we'll talk more about that in a minute. The Air X has a slightly larger battery, which can also be an advantage when choosing between the two. Both consoles weigh almost the same, but because of its smaller size, the Air Mini feels more compact. When it comes to controls, I can confidently say that the buttons on the Air Mini are softer and require less force to press. On the Air X, the buttons and D-pad feel stiffer. That doesn't mean they're worse, not at all. The tactile feedback is just different with a bit more resistance. On both consoles, the buttons and D-pads are high quality. It really comes down to whether you prefer softer or firmer controls. As for the shoulder buttons and triggers, I personally prefer the ones on the Air Mini. They feel slightly more premium, while on the Air X they feel a bit toy-like. As I mentioned in my review, that impression might be influenced by the texture of the plastic. The analog sticks feels identical to me on both consoles, and they're very good. Both devices also feature RGB lighting around the sticks. In terms of ergonomics, I can't pick a clear winner. Both consoles are comfortable to hold thanks to their ergonomic grip design. The Air Mini feels a bit thicker and more solid, while the Air X feels thinner, more rounded and more stretched out, almost like a bar of soap. There is no obvious advantage here, so it really depends on which design you prefer. And before we continue, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel and leave a comment. It's super important for promoting both the video and the channel. Also, don't forget to click the bell icon so you won't miss any new videos. And if you want to support the channel even more, you can hit the hype button. It helps push the video to new audiences and brings even more people into our community. I also prefer the sidebar on the Air Mini. It's mapped to a dedicated button, which is very convenient. On top of that, it has a more user-friendly interface and supports more features. On the Air X, the sidebar is accessed through the pull-down quick settings panel, which isn't as convenient and offers fewer functions. I compared performance in benchmarks, and you can see the results on the screen. The Air Mini has more than double the graphics performance in synthetic tests, which makes it more suitable for demanding games. This is probably the most important factor when choosing between these consoles, and we see the same trend in real games. If we're talking about PSP games, in my opinion, the Mangmi Air X is clearly better suited for them, thanks to its larger widescreen display. I'd even say it's a perfect modern alternative to the original PSP. I am not saying the Air Mini isn't suitable for PSP games, but a lot of PSP fans will probably find the black bars at the top and bottom annoying. The Air X also has an advantage when it comes to Nintendo Switch games. The screen size works really well here. More importantly, some games actually launch and run, unlike on the Air Mini, where the emulator simply crashes on startup. I wasn't able to get a single Nintendo Switch game running on the Air Mini. On the other hand, when it comes to PlayStation 2 performance, the Air Mini significantly outperforms the Air X. You get access to fairly large PS2 library. Yes, you'll need to lower graphics settings to minimum, but even then, you're getting a reasonably capable console for the money. In my opinion, this is the killer feature of the Air Mini, the ability to play PlayStation 2 games. In GameCube games, I'd also give the edge to the Air Mini, since they run more consistently here, although you can happily play Mario Kart on either of these consoles. In general, I believe a 4:3 screen like on the Air Mini is ideal for retro games. Many retro consoles were originally designed for that aspect ratio, and even when they weren't, small black bars personally don't bother me much. But that's a matter of taste. It depends on which screen format you prefer. So, to sum it up, the Air Mini is significantly more powerful than the Air X. That's obvious both in synthetic benchmarks and in real-world gaming, especially in PlayStation 2 titles. Its screen is better suited for most retro systems, and overall it feels slightly more premium and solid than the Air X, though that's just my subjective opinion. At the same time, the Air X handles PSP games beautifully, just like the Air Mini, but its larger widescreen display lets you fully immerse yourself without black bars. The same goes for Nintendo Switch games. At least some of them actually launch here. Yes, it's a very small library of lightweight titles, but it's still a bonus compared to the Air Mini, which simply can't emulate Switch games at all. If you're looking for a powerful retro handheld with the ability to emulate PlayStation 2, then the Ayaneo Pocket Air Mini is definitely your pick. If PSP emulation is more important to you, I'd recommend the Mangmi Air X, and the small collection of playable Switch games will be a nice bonus. PlayStation 2 and GameCube games are available on the Air X as well, but unfortunately not all of them run at a comfortable, playable level. So those are my conclusions. I'm not sure if this will make your choice easier or harder. Either way, drop your questions in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer them. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe to the channel. I wish you pleasant nostalgia and successful completion of your favorite games.